What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so, I just love it when you get some derangement and it comes up to the court and the judge is like, you're just deranged. Get out of here. This is ridiculous. That's what we've got going on here today, folks. Check this out. Appeals court clears the way for deep cuts restructuring at CFPB. That is right, the Customer Financial Protection Bureau. As if we really need this. We need another enforcement arm to go after small business and regulate them into the freaking ground. But it's got to be around, it's written into law to have this agency to protect consumers, which they don't do much of that, by the way. They regulate things like light bulbs and, how much water can come out of your freaking shower head. Those types of things. It's fascinating, but let's get into this. A federal appeals court panel has cleared the way for the Trump administration to largely dismantle the work of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, lifting a lower court judge's injunction that had preserved the agency's structure and barred mass layoffs for months. The 2-1 ruling, authored by Judge Gregory Katsas, or Katsal, can you guys let me know down in the comments exactly how you pronounce that? Is it Katsas or Katsal? Y'all let me know. Said a series of legal defects in the lawsuit brought by CFPB employees and the NAACP doomed the case and required the district court judge's blockade to be lifted. We'll get into it, but the derangement is coming in pretty soon. Right, stitch incoming, if you will. Katsal, a Trump appointee, said the fatal flaw was the broad challenge against what the employees described as a master plan to shutter the agency altogether. So they said, Donald Trump is going to blow up the CFPB. No, that's just not true. That's a fallacy, if you will. Donald Trump is not doing this. He's reducing its operations down to legal minimal requirements. He's doing this with a lot of the federal government, right? This is why conservatives are cheering on the administration, even in the face of the Epstein scandal, for crying out loud. Nobody even cares. The only people that care about Epstein anymore is Democrats, because they so badly want Donald Trump there to be some sort of evidence that Donald Trump was tied to that island, as a matter of fact, and that Donald Trump was a pedo guy or something like that. They deeply want him to be tied to this for some reason, when they didn't care 4 months ago, 5 months ago. They didn't care at all. Didn't care. Didn't hear a peep out of any Democrat, any left-wing individual. The only people you heard anything about Jeffrey Epstein was from conservatives and Republicans. That's it. I wonder why Democrats care so much. Maybe it's because there's an inkling that Trump might be involved. But guess what? I'm here to destroy your dreams, Democrats. He's not. If he was, that evidence is long gone. It was gone before the Biden administration came into fruition, if you will. It's long gone before then, because think about this, Democrats. If the government, the federal government, would have had that kind of dirt on Donald Trump, don't you think that would have came out when they were throwing everything, including the kitchen sink, at him in 2022, after January 6th, when they were offended by January 6th itself, the day? Don't you think that? I'm just saying, y'all. I am just saying. While individual layoffs or contract terminations may be challenged in court, Katsal wrote that the sweeping directive to close the agency alleged in the lawsuit was not something the courts could review, particularly because it was unclear that the administration had made a final decision to carry out the closure. That is because they haven't made the decision to carry out the closure. All they are doing is minimal legal requirements. And that's it. And Democrats don't like that. We have to have a giant, bloated federal government that runs every single thing about your life. They want communism. all of their policies, right? Like I get Democrats, people coming in all the time. Oh, you're ridiculous. You don't even know what communism is. Well, hang on, dude. Look, all of you guys, y'all's policies, they point in that direction. Like, once again, you look, it's quacking like a duck. It's walking like a duck. It's got feathers. It's got an orange bill, for crying out loud. It's waddling. It looks like a duck. It's probably a duck, right? It's not a freaking goose. The goose makes a totally different sound. So, when all of your policies point towards communism, I'm going to think you guys are communists. Prove me wrong by changing your policies. The plaintiffs seek to set aside an abstract decision inferred from a constellation of discrete actions to prophylactically ensure that the Bureau can fulfill its statutory mandate, Katzal wrote. If the plaintiffs' theory were viable, it would become the task of the judiciary rather than the executive branch to determine what resources an agency needs to perform its broad statutory functions. Katzal was joined in the decision by Judge Naomi Rao, another Trump appointee. Judge Cornelia Pillard, an Obama appointee, dissented. The decision may be appealed to the full bench of the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals or the Supreme Court. The ruling is a hard-won victory for the Trump administration after losing repeated rounds in court since March. U.S. District Judge Amy Berman Jackson, an Obama appointee, found that the administration had been attempting to unlawfully shutter the CFPB and blocked the larger-scale dismantling, finding that the agency had been unable to perform legally required tasks. Yeah, but that's not true. That's just got overturned, by the way. Jackson's decision followed a 2-day hearing in her courtroom that aired deep turmoil and tension within the agency as Elon Musk's Doge employees attempted to commandeer the agency systems. Yeah, and they're allowed, right? The government, the federal government, should be allowed to audit itself. Don't you think? Isn't that something that the American people, you would think that they want? But see, Democrats see this as commandeering it. See that qualifier? Commandeer. No, they're coming in to do an audit. They're not commandeering anything. This is proven time and time and time again. They're just auditing the federal government. That's all they're doing. And anybody that gets fired, that comes from the agency head. That's not coming from Elon Musk, right? The corporate press, if you're a Democrat and you bought into Elon Musk is firing people, that's absolutely not true. That is divorced from reality. That never happened. Not in one instance. Not in a single instance. Elon Musk did not fire a single person from any agency. He couldn't. He didn't have that authority. Doesn't have the power. It was the agency head that fired anybody. And that directive came from Donald Trump. It's fascinating, y'all. Emails and other records produced during the court battle shed more light on the chaos unleashed among senior officials, particularly after acting CFPB head Russ Vought called for a stoppage of work tasks in February. Pillard's dissent accused Katzal and Rao of taking too narrow a view of the court's ability to prevent the Trump administration from violating the law. That's because they're not violating the law. Once again, you can't take a narrow position on that if they're not doing the thing. The president's chosen CFPB leadership may, within those constraints, run the Bureau as it determines best serves the public's interest. But it's emphatically not within the discretion of the president or his appointees to decide that the country would benefit most if there were no Bureau at all, Pillard wrote. Once again, this is just delusionism right here because they're not shutting it down. Reducing it to minimal legal requirements is very different than turning it off. It's insane. These judges. Once again, activist judge activity alert, if you will. The notion that courts are powerless to prevent the president from abolishing the agencies of the federal government that he was elected to lead cannot be reconciled with either the constitutional separation of powers or our nation's commitment to a government of laws. True, but where is the instance of this happening? It's not here. as the other two judges found. As the legal fight over the CFPB has played out in court, Trump and Republicans have successfully slashed the Bureau's funding. The GOP tax and spending mega law Trump signed in July cuts by roughly half the amount of funding the CFPB can request to finance its operations from the Federal Reserve. There you go. They cut their budget in freaking half. Hang on just a second. Didn't that judge say, oh, they're letting the president violate the Constitution by shutting down CFPB? Well, hang on, if they still have half of their original budget. I'm just saying, that's all I'm saying. And even with the legal roadblocks, Trump administration officials have already moved to curtail much of the agency's work. In recent months, the CFPB has dropped lawsuits against companies, reversed settlements, and is seeking to drastically reduce its oversight of a range of industries. At the same time, the White House is enlisting the CFPB in its fight against debanking, a crackdown on allegations that banks close the accounts of conservatives or conservative-aligned industries for political purposes. The CFPB is among the regulators Trump tasked earlier this month with examining whether banks were engaged in that practice. Yes, there's many allegations of this out there, so they could all be allegations, but, I doubt it. I doubt it. But that's going to be a hard case to prove, because how do you prove that? How do you prove that it was politically motivated, that they shut them down or cut them off from the banking system completely because they were conservative? How do you do that? It's going to be kind of hard to actually prove, because you got to prove intent. You can't just look at the evidence and say, oh, well, he's a conservative and they shut him off. Well, there could be other circumstances here that we don't know about. There could be something else going on, right? It's hard to prove intent. The CFPB has also announced that it plans to rewrite a sweeping Biden-era regulation governing financial data sharing. Crypto executives and financial technology firms have been lobbying Trump to enforce a Biden-era policy that prohibits banks from charging fees for that data sharing, which fintechs and crypto firms use to power their services and make it easier for customers to set up accounts and move money. Yeah, that was the one thing that I actually give props to the Biden administration for doing, was cutting out junk bank fees. He reduced them from whatever they may be down to $8, $9, I think, something like that, $8 or $9. It's less than 10. I don't remember exactly what it is, but it's something. It's $8 or $9, right? And that's the one thing that Joe Biden did that was a good thing. Oh, and deciding to not run for president was a very good idea as well. I forgot about that one. Sorry about that, y'all. But look, the federal government, right? All the powers of the federal government are vested in a single person. He has the say-so over all of those agencies, pretty much. And outside of legal requirements, he can do whatever he wants. If he wants to turn everything down, de-bloat the government, essentially, put the government on a diet. It's going on keto, for crying out loud, it seems like. Then he can do that if he wants to. There's no obligation to keep the government bloated. It's not an obligatory thing, in other words. He doesn't have to keep it bloated. He could definitely downsize the federal government. The Supreme Court, court after court after court, has proven this outright by all of those people that the Supreme Court allowed Trump to fire and let go. It's absurd. I can't believe they brought a lawsuit saying, oh my God, he's going to destroy it, when he's just firing people and cutting their budget in half. It's funny, y'all. I love Democrats' arguments because they're so easy to knock down. They really are, but I think I've rambled on for long enough. Y'all let me know what y'all think. That's all I got. Y'all don't forget to smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new around here and you like what you saw. You know what? Even if you hate me, subscribe. You don't know, why not? Just do it. Might as well, right? Share this video anywhere and everywhere you can. And if you would be so inclined, I would love it if you'd click that join button, sign up, and become a member. But y'all remember, y'all, God is always with us, and he loves each and every one of you, whether you believe it or not. He's there. He's always there. But y'all try to have a good day and stay legitical. Peace.